So the this is the way of finding the unitary operator which is capable of doing the rotation of the system. So we found the unitary operator. So this is the 1 plus I by h cross delta theta into Lez is the unitary operator. So its generator is Lez by h cross. Lez is the angular momentum operator, Z component. We know that that actually rotates the system. Angular momentum operator actually rotates the system. So Lez by h cross is the generator. This is also unitary operator. This you can write it as e to the power of minus x. In that form, you can write this one. Now for the finite rotation, you change this delta theta into theta. Delta theta is for infinitesimal angle. Now for finite angle, simply change delta theta into theta. So the operator corresponding to the finite rotation is so Lez by h cross is the generator of infinitesimal rotation. For finite rotation, the operator is u. U can be written as 1 plus I by h cross theta. Change delta theta into theta, then Lez. If you want, you can write here as suffix j, because j or L you can write it here, ul, because L generates u. No need, even if you don't write, no problem. Uj or ul you can write here. Now this is for z axis rotation. Now for any arbitrary axis x, y or z, generally you call it as n axis rotation. For a rotation about an arbitrary axis, any axis, this uj. Now see, this operator is represented as uj. J is the angular momentum generator, which generates u. So that operator you can write it as n theta, function of axis n and theta. That you can write it as 1 plus I by h cross theta into n dot j. If n is z, you will get jiz, or n dot l, you get Lez. Okay, so that Lez or jiz, you can write it as n dot j. If n is z, you get jiz. If only orbital, you can write it as Lez. So this is the general unitary operator capable of doing any axis rotation. You put the axis here, you will get the corresponding equation. So this you can write it as e to the power of I by h cross theta into n dot j. So this operator is the angular momentum operator. Okay, this is the angular momentum operator, which is capable of doing the rotation in space. And now according to our isotropy of space, the Hamiltonian should be invariant under rotation in space. So that this u will commute with the Hamiltonian, or ultimately the generator of u will commute with the Hamiltonian, because u is related with j. If u commutes, automatically j will also commute. So ujh equal to huj, that is the final result you will obtain. Operator u will commute with h, so we can say the eigenvalue of j operator is j. The angular momentum j is constant of motion. So you can write commutation jh equal to 0. So this is the meaning of this one is conservation of angular momentum is a consequence of rotational invariance of the system. Conservation of angular momentum is a consequence of rotational invariance of the system. You rotate the system have no change. because space is isotropic. So there is no change for the system. So this ultimately leads to the conservation of angular momentum. Also, you can add the clause if there is no external torque that is necessary. If there is, if no external torque, then only this will be valid. So that is the end of today's class. So we have explored the properties of space and time and connected it with the conservation laws in physics. They are very important. So these are actually they are very much related. So space and time, homogeneity of space, homogeneity of time, and isotropy of space. These are very important ideas, and that actually leads to the conservation of conservation laws in physics. Important conservation laws in physics. Okay.